Well, let's see, we'll wait for Cassie to give us the. Is it going, Cassie?
It should be.
Oh, wow. Okay. So apparently we're Facebook Living, so you're all on the interwebs now. So while they're getting that all set up, Rick and I will just give a quick introduction. My name is Eric Fay. I'm the Democratic Director of Elections here. And I want to welcome you all. I see a lot of familiar faces, a lot of folks who work the polls on Election Day. We really appreciate you coming. I just want to give a quick little background to this process, how we got here, and where we will hopefully go from here. So in February of this year, we, the Board of Elections, issued a request for proposals from vendors that provide election equipment to provide new voting equipment for St. Louis County. The current voting equipment in St. Louis County was purchased in 2005, implemented in 2006. It is really past its useful life. It is becoming increasingly hard to repair and keep going out in the field. The software where we program the ballots and tabulate the ballots, while it is accurate, is very labor intensive. So we are looking for a new system that will make the programming and tabulation more efficient and hopefully more quick to deliver results to you more quickly. And then we're hoping to improve the experience not only for the voters but also for our poll workers and election judges. Because the system we have now is also at the polling places, as a lot of you know, pretty labor intensive. You got to set up a lot of stuff, take a lot of stuff down at the end of the night. We are hoping to make that process easier. So we had 4 responses to our RFP. Our RFP committee narrowed it down to 3. Election Systems and Software, who's here today, Dominion, and Hart InterCivic. So today you'll get a demonstration from ES&S. On April 26th, it's Dominion. So please come back on the 26th, and on May 7th, Hart will come in for their demonstration. Once those demonstrations are over, our committee will meet to score all those proposers and make a recommendation to our Board of Elections here. Real quick, I don't know if all the RFP committee is here, but just so you know, our committee is made up of employees of the Board of Elections, half Republican, half Democrat, and then we have 1 employee from our county IT department who conducted our cybersecurity audit last year. So he is intimately familiar with our system and the cybersecurity protocols we need to have in place. So for the cybersecurity folks, I'm sorry, not for the RFP committee folks who are here, raise your hand. Who's here? So, okay, great. So Christian Tolbert, Republican Deputy Director, Teresa Dintelman, our AD in charge of absentee and registrations, David Greenwald, Assistant Director in our IT Department, Julie Light, our Democratic Deputy Director, Dale Brown, in charge of all the training and election judges here. He's trying to adjust the tripod back there. Laura Goebel, our election coordinator, who programs all of our elections. Amy Blankenship, who does all of our finance, all of our budgeting, all of our procurement. And am I missing anybody? And that's our other IT manager down here. So it's a good group, a lot of folks who have different experiences, different competencies in all workings of our office. And we really appreciate you coming today and the feedback you hopefully will give us, because it will inform this committee as to how they go about this. And I've already talked too much. I'm going to let my counterpart Rick here.
Rick String, the Republican director. I'm not going to say much at all because Eric said it all. The committee will recommend to Eric and I their selections. We've been sitting in on all of the meetings anyway, so we see that we don't contribute. They'll recommend to us, and we will recommend to the Board of Election Commissioners, the 4 people selected by the governor who are actually our bosses, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and we'll make our recommendation to them. They'll make the final decision when it's all through. But we appreciate you being here. We appreciate all the work you do on Election Day for us at the polls, and we really value your feedback today. We'll take it under serious consideration. So thanks again for being here.
So next we'll bring Rob Weebush from Election Systems and Software up. Rob's going to lead the presentation for ES&S today, and I think we'll let Rob explain what he wants to do, but I think ES&S first, they want to present to you what this equipment is, take questions, things like that, and then I think have an on-hand demonstration where you all come up and touch it and feel it and try it out. So thanks, Rob, and I'll let you take it from there.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it. Like Eric said, I'm Rob Webush from Election Systems and Software. We've got a few folks from our team here. We've got Tucker O'Mell, one of our sales engineers. We've got Chris Curlin, an account manager that works in Kansas and Missouri exclusively. We've got Damon Hampton with us today. Damon is an account manager for large accounts across the country, similar in size to St. Louis. And then we've also got Monica Tessie. She's actually a voter here in St. Louis County, but she also runs our entire marketing department, so she commutes back and forth to Omaha. She's a very talented individual, and she's also here for a very important purpose. This question always comes up. It came up in Springfield, it came up in Kansas City, it's going to come up in Columbia next week when we do a demonstration there. You do not have to be bald to work at ES&S. Not only is she talented, she does have full hair.
You're like, what's her hair?
I just want to get that out of the way. Everybody, somebody asked that question. There was somebody in here going to ask. I just want to get out in front of some certain things, and the baldness question always comes up. So, thank you to the team that's here. We're going to talk about 8 themes, and there's 8 themes on this screen. Now, I dislike a PowerPoint just as much as you do. So last night when I was going through my slide deck that had 55 slides in it, I whittled it down to 1. This will be the only slide you'll have to be punished with today. This system that we'll show you today is the most secure system on the market. What our big passion is all those other themes, those 7, what we ultimately want to do is provide more voter confidence. So as Eric said, you do have an ES&S system here. It is an accurate system. There have been a lot of advancements since that system was in place. So from 2006, you can imagine a lot has changed in 12 years. And not only did your iPhone or your Samsung phone advance incredibly over that time, in fact, the iPhone, I don't believe it even existed when St. Louis County bought their system last. We have taken a lot of security measures, a lot of advancements in our technology in those last 12 years. Accessibility is near and dear to our heart. Are there folks in here that are from the blind community or represent anybody that's really passionate about accessibility? Anybody? Yes, thank you for being here. Design. I'm going to talk a lot about design. Design's important to us. When these machines were designs on a whiteboard and we're thinking, how should these machines be designed? Who should we consider when we design something? Is it the poll worker? Is it the voter? Is it the administrator? Is it the Secretary of State's office? It is all the stakeholders in a community. So you being here is incredibly important. See a lot of faces that I've probably seen on Election Day serving here with St. Louis County, and this is a very, very important decision that the county's getting ready to embark on. Ease of use, when we talk about that, yes, it is very easy for a voter to vote on the system, as I'll demonstrate. But this, we take it to heart, our poll workers. Our poll workers run a few elections a year. This isn't your full-time job. You do this a few times a year, and if the system is not simple, it makes your life difficult on election day, difficult to open the machines, difficult to operate the machines, difficult to close down the machines at night. We take that to heart, and every time we put a machine in production through certification and ultimately in the hands of a customer, we want it to be incredibly simple for a poll worker to set up, operate, close down. Integration. So not only do you have ES&S's latest certified equipment federally and in the state of Missouri, we've also got a check-in stand here. So when I talk about integration, we're going to talk about that integration with your poll pads, with Knowing, which is also a company that's local here in the Midwest. It's very important that each time a voter is checked in and then presented with a ballot on an express vote screen, it needs to be the correct ballot. So that integration with that poll pad is very important, and we're very passionate about that. Fiscal responsibility. The country, in a lot of people's eyes, is taking a step back because every voter is going to have a piece of paper, right? You know, if you'd asked me 5 years ago, are we going to be voting on smartphones in 2020? I would have said it's possible. We've taken a major step back from that, which I think is a very good step. Having that voter, every single one of them, look at a piece of paper, whether it's a piece of paper that's been marked on a ballot marking device or with a pen in ovals, having them review that with their 2 eyes before it goes into a tabulator is incredibly important, and we'll demonstrate that today. Auditability. Has anybody heard of risk limiting audits? Kind of a buzzword in the election community. Election geeks talk about it all the time, and if election geeks are talking about it, it is very important to us. What we do here is we have a paper ballot now for every single voter. Now, with that paper ballot, we have ballot images because the tabulator over there is going to scan both sides of every single ballot, capture an image of those ballots, and then the team here back in their secure tabulation room, which is not connected to the internet, I'll say it again, is not connected to the internet in any way. It is a hardened system that we would install there. The team can look at an image of a ballot that's been cast in any one of our tabulators and look at the cast vote record. Meaning what they do on this monitor is see exactly how that tabulator interpreted the paper that that voter put into the machine. The team here can do that for every single ballot, whether it's on one of these tabulators in a precinct or one of our central count scanners. They have full auditability of our system. So these are the 8 themes that I'll keep coming back to today. But without further ado, I think what I'd like to do is just vote a ballot, and then I'm going to tell you exactly what I did. So a voter's going to check in just like they always do, except when they check in on the poll pad, am I falling out of the frame?
Yeah.
No one mess with the Facebook gal. She wants you in the frame the whole time. We talked about this before. So the voter's given that same receipt, but you'll notice at the bottom of this receipt we've got a barcode, right? So who's familiar with the Ivotronic and the PEB? Pretty much everybody in here, right? This becomes your PEB. So a voter is then walked up to the machine. Independently, what they do is they put their ballot in here, and you'll notice there's a scanner next to it. So that action of putting the ballot into the machine activates it here, and then we're just going to scan that receipt. Now this is the receipt that the voter got, and it's going to pull up their ballot style. So you'll notice here 138. On the screen we've got ballot style 138, and we're going to activate a vote session. Okay? So what the voter then does, now it's a little bit difficult to see here if you're in the back. You're welcome to come up if you'd like, folks. They're going to go through just like they would on any other touchscreen in their life. They're seeing this at airports, they're seeing this at ATMs. They're just going to go through and make their selections. They may choose to skip a selection. They may say, yes, I want to vote for that judge, or no, I don't want to vote for that judge, and we're going to automatically switch it back and forth for them. I think Laura was mad at me when she sent this election. I've got like 15 judges to vote on. I have no idea who these judges are. But I hope that you get the essence of it here. A couple other things that voter can do. So, you know, we talked a little bit about the ballot with somebody who was here earlier. A paper ballot's pretty limited in its functionality, right? As a voter, I can fill in bubbles. I can overvote without any guard protections, that kind of thing. I can put indeterminate marks, things like that on a paper ballot. We still want to give those voters that option if they're insistent on having a paper ballot, but this machine does not allow you to overvote. It can warn you of undervotes. So as I go through here, making my selections, what it can also do is we can increase the font size. So if I hit zoom, we can really increase that font size. So if you put a paper ballot next to that, the voter experience is completely different and interactive than it would be on a static piece of paper. Folks with macular degeneration can do the contrast review, going through, making these selections. And then now they have a chance to verify their selections. So they've gone through the entire ballot, they've made their selections, and we give them a little check mark if they voted. Now, if they haven't voted on a contest, or if they were allowed to make more selections than they actually made, say it's a vote for 3, and they only made 1 selection, they can hit that particular contest, vote for it, and then we take them right back to that summary. Now they see the green check, continuing through the ballot. They've reviewed it, and now what we're gonna ask them to do is print their card. Now, when you think of an express vote, think of it as a 19-pound intelligent pen. It's not a tabulator, it's just a ballot marking device. Now what the voter has is a printed ballot that they can see the contest and what their selection was. Contest selection. So they have a second chance, we like to call it, to review their printed ballot before it goes into a tabulator. I'm gonna pause for just a second to talk about fiscal responsibility. You'll notice this was completely blank when I put it into the machine. This is a thermal paper, so there's no ink or toner or any of that built into here. We built in the battery backups. We built in the printer into this device. The cost differential from this versus this is incredibly significant. So the county's trying to decide what system to go with. And it is a big capital investment up front, but that life of ownership, those 10, 12, 15 years that a county owns a particular system, they can save an incredible amount of money on the paper going this route. Because remember, a lot of jurisdictions will print a certain percentage of these, and since we have to give a paper ballot to every voter, we would much rather a county go this route because it's blank stock, you only use what you need, and it's a much less expensive voter experience. So then the voter takes this ballot after they've reviewed it. They walk over to the DS200 precinct scanner. This would be the replacement for the M100. And in any orientation, they scan that ballot, and then the DS200 gives them that message.
Excuse me.
Yes, please. You can put it in any orientation. Yeah, I'm gonna grab another one. And this, any orientation, you can't fold it up or crumple it up. Nobody can put their jelly sandwich on it, that kind of thing. But it's right here. So there's an insert card sticker on the top and then insert ballot. So this is gonna take all the ballots. So every voter is getting a paper ballot. The ballot will just go right in this top slot here. If the voter had that pre-printed ballot, the large one, it would go in the slot just below that. So at the end of the night, these units simply need to just be turned off. You'd open the side door, turn all these off, put them back in a case that looks like that. And this will be the one machine that has one piece of media. So the county today has some 2,200 pieces of media that need to be read into their secure tab room that is not connected to the internet. Secure tab room. Now what they would have is 500 of these. They would have 500 pieces of media. So we're going from 2,200 down to 500. Trying to speed up that results process. Also, what we're trying to do is make life much easier at the end of the night for the polling community. Now what I'll do is I'm gonna take an express vote out and just show you on this table here what it's like to set one up. So this is just the soft-sided case that the express vote comes with. Like I said, it has an internal battery backup in it. So there's no external UPS or any of that kind of stuff.
How much is that weigh?
This weighs 19 pounds, it weighs about 20 with the case. So what you'll do is you'll just take it out of the case. There's a little handle on the top here. You'll notice the little kickstand on the back. So I'm gonna set this down. The cord would go in the side, the power cord. I'm gonna use this kickstand here. Set it on the table. You can also grab it from the sides here. On the side is that media access door. So I've got my keys here. You've got a set of 2 keys. This is the barrel key, we like to call it. And then you've also got this key. Now this key goes to certain locks throughout the DS200. So you've got 2 keys to manage. And in here, there's a couple things. There's an on-off switch, an official, and a voter mode. What you'll use is the on-off switch. So when you take that out of the case, you're going to turn the on switch on. You're going to plug in the scanner here. Does it take everybody 3 tries to put in a USB? It's always you put it in, it's the right way. Then you turn it, it's the wrong way. It never fails. But I think I'm going to try to get it on the first shot. Success. So you'll plug that in, you'll turn it on. You're going to lock this door here. You'll hear a beep like that. I'm going to lock this door here, turn the unit this way. And you're going to enter in one code. So the board is going to dictate, and they'll probably change this code each election, or they'll have a general code, a special code, and a primary code. You're going to enter in a code, and then you're going to go right into voting mode. So since we're not tabulating anything, we're not having to print tapes and all that kind of stuff off this, this literally is a 19-pound intelligent pen guarding voters against overvotes, warning them of undervotes. There's no way you can have an indeterminate mark on this machine. We mitigate all that stuff on the front end. So when the voter gets to a DS200 to scan their ballot, the ballot goes through each time. Now you'll notice when I had it sideways, we've got a little pad here. That's our ADA pad. This is a full ADA pad that was designed by folks in the ADA community. So they gave us a lot of input. They said it needs to have raised edges on the side. It needs to have braille. We need to have the ability to black out the screen. For a blind voter, they turn the tempo way up. So they want it to be very fast. Something that I wouldn't be able to listen to and understand, they can listen to because it's such a heightened sense for them. So what they would do, and this is unique to our system, so I'm going to grab a set of headphones, and everybody can do this when we come up and you guys get your hands on this. They can use their headphones if they'd like, or each one of these units does come with a set of headphones. So they might also have their other assistive devices that they can plug in there. What I'll do is I'm going to grab an express volt card here, and we're going to do something that's unique to our system. It's something that we're really, really proud of. So bear with me just for a second as I vote through all the judges' races that Laura gave us. Question, please.
The scanner, is that individually packed with that thing too?
It can be, yeah. It would come.
It didn't come out of the case?
It can go in the case, or it can be in the box that comes with all the equipment. It could be in the box that comes with the full pads. Either way. Some will put it in the side pouch, some will have it separately. Question here, sir.
That's apparently battery operated, so the battery's replaceable.
They are replaceable. We rate them, you know, the EAC, Election Assistance Commission, makes us put, when we go through all our federal testing, a year or a lifespan on it, and we put 7 years on it. We do think customers are gonna use it for a lot longer.
Are they
without having to
rechargeable?
replace. Oh yeah, you bet. They're rechargeable. Yes, please.
How many different precincts can you program and teach?
You'll put the entire election on here if you want. So if the county went to a vote center model, and who's heard of a vote center model? Louder? Who's heard of a vote center model where voters can vote in any location? It's a little bit different concept. It is in place in a lot of places. You know, it's all over Texas. It's all over other parts of the country. Now, since we are in 42 different states, we see a lot of different trends around the country. So giving customers the ability to put the entire election on one machine, every single ballot style, having one of our precinct scanners accept every single ballot style is incredibly important in other parts of the country. If that came here, St. Louis County would be ready for it. Now, what we think the county will use that functionality for is in-person absentee here in the office. What they'll do is they'll check voters in just like they normally do. You'll go into the in-person absentee room, and this will have every single ballot style on the machine.
Question,
Yes, please.
that strip of paper you put in is totally blank when you first put it in?
Totally blank.
I noticed it's got a corner cut
It does, yes.
purpose.
It's a thermal paper. His question was, why does the paper have a corner cut? It's thermal paper, so it can only be marked on this side. So what we do is we put that corner cut there, and the corner cut here, so the voters know to put it in on the side that it can be marked. Very good question.
Will it spit it out if they put it in the wrong way?
It just won't accept it, you know? So I'm gonna mark this ballot, print the card.
Got one more back here, Rob.
Oh, please, yeah, sorry.
A couple, how long will the actual voting event take place? And I know it's how long is a piece of paper in the main compared to now?
Yeah, it's entirely dependent on how long the ballot is.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but I mean like for like.
Yeah, so I mean, when you have a piece of paper, what I like about the Express Vote and what we've seen and received a lot of feedback around is voting on a screen that's backlit in a polling location that may not have great lighting is quite a bit better than voting on a piece of paper. Remember, this piece of paper, as a voter standing in one of those booths, they can overvote it, they can put a mark across it that's an indeterminate mark, all of which will be picked up at the scanner. So on the Express Vote, we're mitigating all those issues that they may have with this on the front end. So when they get to the DS200 to scan their ballot, the ballot's all right through.
Follow-on question.
Yes, please.
Depending upon the sophistication of the voter, whether they've used the existing machines,
Yes.
then the amount of kind of what I call briefing in order for them to become effective to vote
Yeah, sure.
can change, right? Again, on average, given that this will be new to voters, how long is it expected for the poll workers to have to explain how to use the
It's entirely dependent, which we are incredibly good at how well we train the trainers. So the county has an extensive training department here. They will be well versed in training all the poll workers. So when a voter walks in, they're gonna see a new piece of equipment. They're not gonna be intimidated by it. One, because the poll worker's not angry because they had to set up a cumbersome system, you know, in the morning. It's been easy for them. They're gonna say, hey, this is similar to when you walk up to Southwest kiosk or Delta's kiosk to check in your bag. Come on over and try this new voting system. Tell them, scan your ticket after you put your card in. It's a much better voting experience, and the adoption of it is very, very quick. Great question.
On the reader.
Yes.
Is there anything special about that that makes it more reliable than the?
Yeah, and we're imaging both sides of the ballot, and since we're doing that, we do have guides for the ballots to go in. It's a little bit more forgiving. So we're not seeing a lot of error
Accuracy pretty
messages.
high on it?
Very high. Yep. Let me do one thing, and then I'm gonna get to everybody's question, but I really wanna make this point driving home. A blind voter cannot verify their selections, right, on a piece of paper. When this ballot comes out, they cannot verify their selections. Now remember, they're still at the unit, they have their headphones on, and when they put this ballot back into the machine, we do something that's unique to our system. No other system does this. What we do is we take them to a portion where they can review their ballot. Automatically, what's happening in these headphones, and you're all welcome to try this, that ballot is being read back to them. So they had that piece of paper in their hands, right? They couldn't verify it. What we want them to do is put it into that Express Vote, have that ballot read back to them. When they're good, they say, all right, I'm good. Remember, it never leaves their hands unless it comes out, when it comes out of that machine. Now they know on this piece of paper, that's exactly who they wanted to vote for. So that's how a blind voter. We don't want to treat anybody differently or provide a different experience. We want them to have the same experience regardless of their disability. Question in the back, and then we'll get to these up front.
So at this point, any voter who's printed off their ballot.
Yes.
And they review it and they
Yeah.
say, oh man, I didn't do it right.
Yeah, they need to spoil their ballot, right?
So what's that process?
Same exact process as this one. So whether they were standing in that booth and they mismarked this one, or they were standing here at an Express Vote and they misfingered the ballot, went through that review of it, printed their card out, and on their way to the DS200, they said, you know what, I don't want to vote for Colleen, I'd rather vote for James. They're gonna go through that same exact process of going back to the table, just like they would, that you're used to with this one, spoiling the ballot, getting reissued through the poll pad, come back to the machine and mark a new ballot that they then scan in the poll pad. That's a unique feature because remember, on an Ivotronic, it's electronic, right? So once they hit cast, they voted. they don't have a second chance to review their selections before it goes into a DS200. Excellent question. Go right here.
How do we address something with a voter who says, I don't recognize the names on this ballot, they're not from my precinct, if we don't know what ballot style they're actually getting after the fact, if their page is blank?
Yeah, we're gonna manage all of that here. So as long as the voter registration information is accurate in the poll pad, we're gonna issue them the ballot that they should get. And then when they come up to the machine, they're gonna make their selections. And if they're, if they say, wait a minute, I'm not registered here. I moved and I moved over here. All that is gonna be managed in the voter registration system. Sir?
What about privacy? I see there's no
Yeah,
privacy.
so we've got several different options that the county is considering. So we do have this table up top version. We do have a privacy sleeve that goes over it. We also have numerous stands that the county's considering. They also have put an express vote in that stand over there. It fits perfectly. So the county, privacy is definitely important. This is just set up for the demonstration. Great question. We have one in the back here, sir.
The larger ballots,
Yeah.
17 inches, 17 inches, are they, is the glitch fixed for the feed on the 200?
Explain to me the glitch.
When it was cocked in there, it would not read properly sometimes.
Yeah, we're not seeing that. So you can have up to a 19-inch ballot on a pre-printed ballot, and with the DS200, we're not experiencing that.
Okay, because one of the things I read was that the angle would misread on larger than
Yeah.
17.
When you come up and use the DS200 after this, you'll see that we've got guides kind of on the side, and it's going to guide that ballot in. Because remember, now we're taking a digital image and capturing that cast vote record that we want to compare later when we do our audit of the machine. We need the ballot to go through at a pretty good angle so that we can capture a clean image of it, so that we can audit it later. Over here, yes ma'am.
Now, you said these were powered by battery, we
Yes,
don't plug them in at all?
Yes, you do plug them in, yep.
Oh, so that's
So this
just
one's
battery.
actually running on battery. These are all plugged in, and we'd recommend that you plug it in, just like we'd recommend that you plug in your poll pads, the DS200. However, they do have battery backups built into them. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when the power goes out at a given library, school, community center. You're not gonna skip a beat on your voting day. Great question. I think we had one in here.
Well,
Sir?
how about the
Oh, go ahead.
scanner then?
Same thing, battery backup.
Great.
Yep, and if it does get unplugged, there's an audible tone. And then also, when you plug the unit in, to open that unit, you're gonna lift one lid, that top one up there you see, and then the action of lifting the screen is gonna power the unit on. It's gonna automatically print your tapes. So you're gonna lift two lids, and you're gonna push two buttons on the screen that are both green to go into voting mode. Question here, Brown hat.
You answered the Spalding question, but now the way the palm pads are set up, if I'm not mistaken, that once you register yourself as a voter, then it identifies that you've already came in and did a vote. So how do you correct that to go back if you have to spoil that vote and reissue another voting
That-
ID?
That's more of a administrative question, so
Okay.
we're on the tabulation side.
Okay.
The
The other question I have after.
Well, when you check in a voter on this, let's say they do have a spoiled ballot, and you need to reissue one, there's a log in the poll pad that's keeping track of all that action. So when the board does their audit and looks at that log, they say, we issued Jane Doe a ballot, it was spoiled, we issued Jane Doe another ballot. We better have a spoiled ballot over there at the table, so we can match all that up. And when we do our accountability of how many ballots were issued, how many were spoiled, how many were tabulated, all those things need to match up, and the board does a great job of that auditability, or that auditing.
Okay.
sorry.
My other question is.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the font size. Who would be the person changing the size of the font? Would
Yeah,
you
so
as a
there's-
voter or someone else?
You can just push the button on the screen. Like, what we don't want is a lot of poll worker interaction when they step up to an express vote. So whether the voter's blind or they're a sighted voter, we're gonna automatically start reading that ballot, whether they have the headphones on or not. We don't want you to have to come over and push a button to make it larger, change the contrast. If we did offer Spanish as a language here or Chinese as a language here, we want the voter to do all those actions themselves without the board worker having to come over.
So after that vote is cast, will it automatically go back to the original font size?
Yep.
Okay.
Great question, ma'am.
I have a question again on the battery.
Yeah, sure.
Would the poll worker do that if there's a problem
If-
with the battery, or is it gonna require a tech?
We're not seeing that problem, I'll tell you that. So if the power does go out, and it goes out, let's say for, multiple hours, this battery will get low.
Like a
and you'll
national election, I mean,
Yeah.
is that battery gonna get pretty low?
No, because it's plugged in. Now, if you lost power in the building, yes, it will start to get low.
Second question.
Yes, sir.
Are they GPS enabled? Like, for example, there's a lot of stickers we have to put on forms. Make sure, do we have the right machine, the right serial number?
Yeah.
If it is, because there's lots of ways those things can go wrong. Do those kind of ET call home? I mean, do we have
No.
GPS?
Yeah, I
monitoring
can't-
system to know where each individual is?
Cannot stress enough that there is no connection to the outside world on this machine, any of our tabulation machines or ballot marking devices, or this. There is no connection to the outside world. They are all hardened machines that are closed loop. We do not connect them to anything. So no, there's not a homing device that's like on your phone where I'm trying to find my kid because he went to the park and never told me, that kind of thing. We do not have that built into it. What we do have is a team here that has equipment inventory management. What they do is they ensure that that express vote goes to the right polling location. That DS200 goes to the right polling location. And it's their job to manage all that inventory. Very good question. We have one over here, I think.
Just
Yes,
one
sir.
other. The machines we have now have a date and time on it. Those pretty
Yep.
much have the same
Same thing. It's going to automatically handle daylight savings time.
so there won't be any adjustments needed at any time.
Yeah, we're out of the days of having to adjust time, calibrate screens. We're beyond that. I mean, you can calibrate these, but that's done, if a machine was dropped from a 10-foot drop or something like that. Obviously, we're going to test it. We're going to run test ballots through it. And if the calibration is still set, it's fine, good. But we're not having a lot of calibration issues. In fact, we're having very few across the country. I will tell you, we do have about 50,000 of those in service and counting. We've got a lot of folks that are getting ready, just like St. Louis County for 2020. And we've got just over 30,000 of these in the field. So it is definitely battle tested on election day. We'll go here and then we'll go here. Yes, sir.
You mentioned something about the machine it weighs about 19 pounds. It
Yes, sir.
comes in a soft case.
Yep.
But during transport, I mean, do they have, since it's coming in a soft case, are they gonna transport it in a durable, transportable case the way it won't get damaged?
Yeah, I believe what the board will do is they'll use the carts that they have for the animatronics already.
Okay.
And if we're successful here and we ultimately earn the business again here in St. Louis County, I think what they'll do is reuse their carts and put these inside that. So there's a lot of things that the county, we hope, can reuse. So they're already purchasing a new voting system. We don't want them to have to buy new carts, new transport cases. A lot of that stuff we'd like for them to reuse to save the county money if possible.
And the other question I have, the barcode reader.
Yes, sir.
Now, on a lot of sites, is that barcode reader specifically for that voter's ticket? And
Yep.
it cannot be tampered with in any kind of way to, like some apps that you can download on some phones, you got barcode readers, right?
Sure.
Is that specifically for that device right
Yeah,
there?
that's the specific scanner we took through EAC certification and Missouri Secretary of State's office certification. Great question. We'll go here, ma'am.
Question. You've been saying they can vote anywhere. Can you explain yourself more? This is still, I'm saying like if I vote over here, I can go over there and vote again twice. Can you explain
Yeah,
yourself?
so her question is related to vote centers. Now, vote centers are not authorized in Missouri, so I'm not proposing that the county would have to go to vote centers. My comment on vote centers was some jurisdictions in the country and some states are really big on vote centers, basically allowing voters to go into any one of the vote centers throughout the county, check in and vote. Now, the linchpin and the key to that sits right over here. So this poll pad is connected to a central server that says that voter, Jane Doe, walked into that vote center or that in-person absentee office or that precinct. It is connecting back to the server saying, hey, we need to communicate back to every single poll pad across this network and let those poll pads know this voter cannot vote somewhere else because we've already logged their vote record, their credit. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm not suggesting that St. Louis County is going to vote centers. I'm saying St. Louis County, should that come to the state of Missouri, will be well prepared with a system like this to accommodate that. Right here in the blue shirts.
What about surge protectors?
Yeah.
You have to plug
Yeah.
into an outlet.
We'd recommend that. You know, these units can be daisy chained together in certain configurations and certain stands. So it runs on a standard outlet. You know, if you have a surge protector, that's great. If you don't have to have one. But those are logistics we'll work out with the board. Good question. We'll go here in orange hat, sir.
If the county goes with this system.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there no more asking the voter, do you want a paper or touchscreen? Is this the only way they can vote?
So that, his question is, do we still offer the voter paper or plastic, right? And that's gonna be a county decision here. Now, I'll tell you, once voters and the administrators run an election, I think, and this has been our experience, everybody wants to vote on the express vote for a couple reasons. It's a much nicer voter experience than this, but you do have your diehards that want to vote on paper, right? So I think the board will provide a supplemental of this and give those voters paper or plastic. However, from a fiscal responsibility standpoint, this is definitely the way to go now that every voter has a paper ballot. So that's going to be a board question. Administrative. We've got one right here, sir.
Yes. If one of these machines up here fail,
Yes, sir.
you'll have one or two more to vote on.
Yes, sir.
And should this scanner over here fail, will it be like the Opta scanner where you just slip the ballots in the bottom and then read them later?
So you've got on the ES200, you don't have like, are you pulling me off the stage? Is this my? Oh. I thought he was gonna have the big fish hook, like you're done. Time is up.
That's Daryl, he'll do that.
Is it better? Can somebody make a Facebook comment on live? Can you hear me? Better?
Yes.
Man, make sure you do that to the other vendors. Can you hear me? And that was my
I don't
stuff.
remember, just repeat it out.
Yeah, just repeat it all. The DS200, so all the ballots are falling down into here. This is the strangest caller microphone I've ever seen. It's got a little metal flap here. Well, that'll be closed throughout election day, but should the battery be exhausted on this or somebody pours their iced tea down it, and you need to wait for a replacement unit, you'll flip that down, you'll close this, and then those emergency bin will be open. That's where voters will put their ballots. Now, there's a gasket in there that keeps those ballots quarantined until this is restored, and you would take those ballots out and ultimately scan them. Now, since every voter has a paper ballot, what you do is you close this bin here, and all those ballots are falling down into what we call all the stuff I said. Fancy scanner? It's open. The ball joke? So all the ballots, they fall down into here. You close the top. You know, the board, they are very big on bipartisan teams. You have a lock on this side for Dem, lock on this side for Republican. You've got two seal points there. And then it also turns into kind of like a suitcase. Can you believe this stuff here? I think we're done here. We'll go here and then, yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the curbside voting.
Yes, ma'am.
I can't imagine taking one of the machines out of the
Yeah.
car, just so bipartisan team. So basically, you're saying for the curbside, they're restricted to the paper ballot then?
I'd recommend it, and we do have some customers that carry this out. We've got a couple handles on there. But a lot of customers, what they do is they put this on clipboard we do have some, and then we also have different configurations. We have what we call the kiosk configuration, which has kind of a dolly that goes out to the curb. My recommendation from a fiscal standpoint would probably be to give the voter one of these on a clipboard, bring it back to the bipartisan team, and scan it. We'll go, gentlemen.
If a person, have a disability, like you say you're accommodating to the ADA.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and, you know, like they, for instance, they can't hear, and they want to verify their ballot selection through, is there any accommodating ways through Braille that the machine would print out Braille if they can't see or can't hear before they feed it into the M200?
Yeah, so we don't have like a ballot that prints Braille, mainly because of the cost. So our answer to that is feed in your ballot. Voter still has their headphones on. They take their ballot out, they hold it, oh, it's still talking to me. They take their ballot out, hold it in their hand, keep the headphones on, put it back in, and then it will read that audibly back to what's on that paper. Now, if you want to get really fancy, you don't have to put it in this express vote, because remember, we're just marking ballots. They can put it into any express vote they want. So if that voter takes it out and they say, I'd like to put it in a different machine to ensure that what I marked on my ballot is in fact on my ballot, you can take them over to another express vote. They can put that ballot in with the headphones on and read the ballot back to them. I think we were here. Yes, sir.
Are we still gonna have the assistant supervisors that manage voters at the machines?
Yeah, and that's gonna be a board question, so I don't know, administratively, you know, it's different. You're not gonna have your apron on. You're not gonna have your apron on with the PBs and all that and running keys back and forth. It's gonna be a little bit different administratively with a system like this. And I think the board would work with all that. No. His question was, do these have PEBs? And the answer is no. Every voter gets a paper ballot with this system, right here in the paper.
If you have a really long ballot, will it
Yes, ma'am.
print it on both sides then?
Yeah, so her question is, if you have a really long ballot, will it print on both sides? No, it's thermal paper, it's gonna print on this side. However, when I marked that ballot and it came out, remember, I'm only putting the contest and the selection on there. So a good example of this is Miami-Dade had a 5-page ballot. We were able to fit it on a 17-inch card. So 5-page, front and back of all this text, right? And you can imagine how expensive that was per voter. We're fitting that on a much smaller card and maintaining the font size.
Could you read it?
Yes, ma'am. Yep, absolutely.
That'd be pretty small.
We'll go here in the, yes, sir.
On your tabulator, what the election board will read as a memory card or some sort?
Yeah, so his question is, on the tabulator, what gets read back in for results, right? And when everybody comes up after the demonstration is done, underneath that door, there's 2 buttons. There's one that's a power button, and there's one that literally says closed polls. You're gonna hit closed polls. You're gonna hit 2 buttons on the screen to confirm it. It's gonna automatically print your results for you. And then the screen is gonna tell you, it is now safe to remove the results media. Once the screen says that, you pull the stick. If the board wants you to bring the ballots and the tapes back, you're heading back to Election Central.
So the paper ballots, what temperature would it require before they gray out? You know, if somebody put it in a hot vehicle or something.
Yeah, so the EAC makes us withstand 22 months. So the board's requirement here is to maintain the actual physical paper ballots for 22 months.
22 months.
Now, it will last much longer than that. This is not like a typical Walmart receipt that you get, and like 2 months later, you're like, I have no idea what I bought. And you always went in there for Q-tips, and you come out with like $500 worth of stuff. It's not that same type of technology.
Okay.
It goes through rigorous testing. They submit it to light, humidity, wind, tunnel, all kinds of stuff gets done to that paper. Very good question. We'll go here, since we haven't heard from you yet, and then we'll come here.
When you hand the voter the ticket, they
Yes, ma'am.
scan it over there.
Yep.
And what do they do with that piece of paper they scan and
What do we-
they pull up?
What do we do today with the paper?
Some days as
We collect them all.
Collect them?
Superintendents, supervisors take the paper.
I would guess we collect them.
Yes.
we would change the
So they
procedure.
would have to go and go back and hand it
They
to
may,
them?
they may hand it on their way out. So maybe that person that's activating those sessions with the PEDs, maybe their job shifts to, hey, you need to throw your receipt here, and we'll take that.
Okay, thank you.
But that, I mean, that's not our decision, that's a board, procedural decision. Yes, ma'am.
I guess that leads into my counts that I need to get.
Yeah.
For all the ballots, the digital ballots or technical, the electronic ballots, the written ballots, and all the counts for the tickets, the color tickets.
Yep.
They all have to match up to our
Sure.
certifications or seals, have to, they'll be tabulated or marked down. I don't know how that's fitting in with all this.
Yeah, you're gonna follow that similar process of ballot accountability, because we don't wanna treat this, now that every voter is getting a paper ballot, we don't wanna treat this any different. This is a paper ballot, right? So the accountability, the board sends 500 of these out, you spoil 2 of them, 300 voters vote. All that accountability still needs to take place. So the jobs will shift a little bit in the polling location, because you don't have as much ballot accountability as you did before. But now that every voter has a paper ballot, we have to keep track of all those things.
I like that.
I like her. She's doing the demonstration for the employees.
Did you bring her?
Also, we did not plant her. Never met this woman in our life. Also on this machine, and when everybody comes up, it's got a public count. So 12 ballots have been scanned through here, so the machine's gonna tell you how many ballots have gone.
That's total public count then.
Total from all the,
Yep,
these
yeah,
machines.
because every ballot
Paper and
ends up down there, right? Those are just marking ballots, all of them end up down there.
That's why, well, that's why a voter can go to different machines.
Exactly. Great question. We'll go here and then we'll go back.
Okay. Previously, current equipment,
Yes, sir.
you got a roll of paper.
Oh, yeah.
Which, and you end up having to change paper.
Not
Different,
proud
a lot
of
of
design.
them. Do these have anything like
No paper.
chip or?
No, so this is the paper ballot that the voters issued, that they put into, so there's no paper loaded in this machine. We have the voter put the paper in, they're gonna mark their ballot, they're gonna take the paper out and take it over here. So there's no, he's essentially asking, it's called an RTEL, a real-time audit log.
Right.
That paper that's running on the side, that goes away.
Woo, yeah.
I promise we did not plan to. So the days of you having to change that, those are gone. Now, on the DS200, under this door, when you all come up and check out the unit, under here is a paper roll. It's just a drop-in thermal paper. You just pull it off, and it's going to automatically print your zero tapes in the morning, however many the board dictate, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, or it can be more. And then at the end of the night, it's going to automatically print those results out for you. So you shouldn't have to change any paper in the polling location. And again, this is a thermal printer, so there's no ink, toner, or any of that kind of stuff.
What about paper jams in that?
We're not seeing a lot of paper jams. That's kind of a, I won't say it doesn't happen, but let's say a voter's holding this and they decide to tear it, and then they put it into the unit. It would be a procedural thing whether we have board workers clear the jam or if we have techs clear the jam. We're not seeing a lot of that because we're training poll workers when we do the training. Hey, tell your voters just to hang on to the paper just like this, and when you go up to the machine, put it into the machine.
But it has to, you can't fold it and put it in there.
No, ma'am, no. It's gotta go in just like that, because it's a thermal paper and we need them to mark their ballot on this. Yep, ma'am.
Is this some kind of a laser printer or?
A thermal.
Okay, so.
Yep, thermal printer, so no
What's the
ink,
sort, there's no.
no ink, no
It's
heat.
just from heat.
Yep, yep. It's similar to, it's just a higher grade printer that you're getting out of one of these. So these don't have ink and toner in them either, they're just printing with thermal. And that was a big set of feedback that we got from a lot of our customers. We had a product that's different than the Igontronics called the AutoMark that takes ink and toner. And I don't know if anybody's recently bought ink for their printer at home. Somebody is making a lot of money. Our customers told us when we designed these, you cannot have ink and toner, we cannot afford it. So if you see a system that has maybe like an off-the-shelf printer connected to it with ink and toner in it, it is incredibly expensive over that cost of ownership. Yes, sir?
Does it have a memory card to it, backup to a backup?
Okay. It does, it's loaded with USB sticks, so you'll load a USB stick to pave the way for the election, and you'll load another one. The board will do that here, so the job for the poll worker is literally, is that a question on the phone? Somebody phone it in? You'll just have to turn the unit off. But it is loaded with an election with the same style of stick as the DS200. We do have a question in the back. Yes, ma'am?
Hello.
Hello.
So essentially, like an audit trail,
Yes.
if they're just doing the ballot thing, where does an audit trail back up to? Is it on that little drive?
Yeah, there's,
Or-
so with, now that we've got paper for every voter, right? We've got several spots. We've got the primary stick here. We've got the tapes with the results on it. We've got a backup stick back here, and we also have the paper ballots. Now, coming back with either the primary stick or the backup stick is an audit log of every action that was taken on the machine, as well as the cast vote records, all the ballot images, and the results as well. So when that stick is read back into the system, you can compare how did the machine interpret the paper ballot. Now, if there was ever any question, remember, you've got paper now for every voter. You can take the ballots out of any unit, rescan them on the same unit, or one of our central scan units to compare those results. There's a lot of strong auditability throughout our system. Do we have any questions on Facebook there?
Not yet.
Okay, just a bunch of people taking a nap on Facebook, or, we're gonna go right here, Blue.
Yeah, you touched on if there's a paper jam. Just say, give you a scenario. Just say, for instance, you had a paper jam and you're printing out the results at the end of the night, and just like your computer or your printer at home, you know, for whatever reason, it eats it. How do you open the machine up to clear that jam?
So this is gonna be a procedural question, right? So his question is, I've closed down my DS200, which we have not seen this, by the way, but let's say it does happen, right? Somebody put a piece of gum inside here somehow.
Right.
It jams up halfway through, we can't properly close the machine down. We're probably gonna still take this stick, and again, this is a procedural thing. We'll take the stick out, they'll bring it back here to the board, they'll put that stick into one of the training units, they'll safely close it, collect all those results, and they'll read that into the machine. If for whatever reason that doesn't work, we're gonna have these paper ballots in here, we're gonna rescan those paper ballots, produce the results from that, feed them into the results tabulation. Yes, ma'am?
The container is going to come to the polling place already secured in there, but the container is going to say the location and all, where it's actually from.
That's a board procedural, I would guess yes. The way it's done today, similarly, they would do the same.
And you only get one, I mean, you could have a national election and you might need more.
Yeah, so this is gonna hold up to
No, how
several thousands of
How
ballots.
many?
Several thousand, so, depending on the express vote cards versus the full face
But it
ballot.
will say that its location.
Oh, yeah, yep, you bet. It's gonna hold over 4,000 of these. It's gonna
No,
hold a lot of
The
ballots.
bin is marked,
Yep,
it's not a generic bin.
yeah, it would be marked. Question
All
here.
right, currently, a polling place gets one scanner. One.
Sure.
Okay. And it's probably not really your answer as to what the county's gonna do necessarily. More than one of those?
Typically, we have one.
Can you imagine that?
But again, his question is how many DS200s would we have per location? Typically, we just have one that all the ballots end up. If it's a large polling location with multiple precincts, we may have a couple of them, just to keep that throughput going.
Well, right now, if you're doing the touchscreen,
Yeah,
you vote and you're out the door. You don't have to take paper, walk and wait in line to feed.
yeah, so this, to scan a ballot on here, collect images of both sides, it's about a 4.5 second scan. So we're not gonna see a bottleneck here. And remember, with this, we're guarding against overvotes, warning them of undervotes. Once a ballot that looks like this is presented to that machine, the ballot goes through.
Okay.
And that's why a lot of poll workers are gonna push voters to go to the touchscreen as opposed to an accident-prone ballot, which, to be honest with you, a lot of voters don't read a lot of the instructions around there, but for some reason, if we put it on a backlit touchscreen, they'll read instructions and follow. We've got a question in the back.
One last quick one.
Oh, sorry, yes, sir.
Thermal paper.
Yes, sir.
Now, I've personally seen where if you're handling thermal paper and you have very oily skin.
Sure.
The paper sometimes doesn't want to take a thermal burn anymore.
Yeah, we're not seeing that across the country, so like I said, we've got about 30,000 of these units out and growing. We'll have quite a few more in 2020. It's not been an issue for us.
So Joe Blow mechanic decides, well, I'm gonna go vote real quick.
Yeah.
He's got motor oil on his fingers.
We may want to give them some Kleenex.
Yeah.
Maybe Eric recommend we'll put some Kleenex or something, nice towels and hand sanitizer. Good question. Let's see, question in the back in the orange shirt, sir.
I might have missed this in the beginning. The voting machine itself, the stand.
Yes, sir.
What is, I didn't see it, or what is it constructed of? How easy to set up? And what's the cost percentage added onto it if you add the legs to it, or the stand itself?
Yeah, that's something that the board is gonna, through their committee, that's something that they're looking at. So they haven't landed on that, and that's why we just have this set up here. So there's varying options. There's quite a few, actually. There's some third-party companies that provide stands. We provide numerous stands. Some counties are able to reutilize certain pieces that they already own, so it's not set in stone yet. Question up front here. Yes, ma'am.
We just only let them have 2 spots. You know what I'm saying? If they feel like the first ballot didn't do right, respawn.
Yes.
You already gave them another.
Sure.
So what I'm saying, when it comes to, well, this ain't do right neither. What we say from there, you know what I'm saying? We did 2 spoil on that person.
So her question is, will we change the procedure of how many spoiled ballots? That's gonna be an Eric and Rick question. I wouldn't think that you would change that procedure with this system as opposed to your current system. It would be the same. But that is definitely an Eric and Rick question. We'll go here. And how are we doing on time, Eric and Rick?
So it's a little after 10. Maybe if you wanted to take questions till 10:15.
Okay.
And then give everybody a chance to come up, try it out, and then we'll all stick around and answer questions for as long as people want to.
Yeah, we definitely want you all to come up. I believe we can check you in at the station and bring you over to the machine and really experience it and get up front with it. So we'll go here and then we'll go to the back.
Are the USB sticks proprietary with your company, or are they just open source?
So her question is, are the USB sticks that are loaded into the machine, are they proprietary, or can you buy one from Best Buy and throw it into the machine? I know I changed your question just a little bit, but just to make it a point, we work with a provider called Delkin. We serialize the USB sticks, and we are the only company that's allowed to buy that particular model. Because what we do not want is people off the street or malicious actors to be able to buy those USB sticks, introduce them into this system, and attempt to do malicious things with them. So yes, it is through a third party that's essentially our proprietary USB stick. It's encrypted. It can be overwritten 10,000 times because remember, when you buy a system, there's certain things that we don't want you to have to buy over and over and over again. The standard USB stick is not nearly the grade of USB sticks that we provide. Yes, ma'am.
Who does the programming prior to the election? Is that done
That,
exclusively by the Board of Elections?
yep, so her question is, who does the programming here for the machines? And it's done in a bipartisan team. They do a very good job in St. Louis County of always having a Democrat, always having a Republican, even down to getting into certain places. You have a Democrat badge, a Republican badge. That is all performed by the board here to set up the election. Great questions. We still don't have anybody on Facebook awake asking the question.
So no
I don't want to
question.
neglect them. I don't wanna
Somebody
be-
liked the accessibility features.
Oh, great. Did they like the blue token?
we didn't hear a lot about the blue
You
token.
may want to pull that up and put it in front of the iPad.
Yeah.
That had the impact on us. Question up front, yes, sir.
How much are these machines gonna cost the county, and what do they do with the old ones?
Yeah, so his question is, how much are these machines gonna cost the county? So we've submitted an RFP response, and it's an initial bid. Now, what the county does is they take these RFP responses under advisement, and then they have what's called a best and final offer period. So we haven't arrived at a price where the county will be at to spend money on this equipment. There are also, we gave the county several different options. You know, do you want to purchase more of these and provide a smooth transition from the Ivotronic to the most latest touchscreen? Or do you want to save a little money on the front end and provide voters more of these, less of these? So the board has not decided, you know, and that's what Eric and Rick's committee will go through in their due diligence. And then your second question was, I'm not prepared to give a ballpark, especially on Facebook Live with our competitors watching. I know both of our competitors are watching this. We can have a side conversation. And then his second question was, what do we do with all this old equipment? We trade that equipment in, so it is our equipment that we originally designed years ago. We would trade that equipment in, and then we would recycle it in an environmentally friendly way. We do have a lot of our customers around the country that have traded equipment into us, but we're to the point where so many people are moving to a more secure environment, the upgraded equipment, that we're not using the parts and things like that because our inventory is so high. Question about this.
Is the deployment going to be a big bang or kind of rolling out deployment?
One more time, please.
Is it going to be a big bang deployment or a rolling out deployment?
We hate to call it a big bang. We're experts at transitioning jurisdictions of this size to a new system, but it is a full rollout. So if you imagine in 2006, the equipment and software that is running that system is not compatible with the latest and greatest software, hardware, so it's an all change. It's not as if we put 100 units out. Do that for a couple reasons. One, just because the technology is so much different. But two, we do not want to put Eric and Rick in the situation of providing a different style of voter experience in a particular part of town. Because if you imagine, we put some in Florissant, or we put some in Kirkwood, or we put some in Ferguson, and it's different than somewhere else in the city, then it kind of opens up a hornet's nest for them. We do not want to put them in that situation. We'll go to the back of the orange, and then we'll go to the U.S. Army.
What's the lifetime of these units?
Yeah, so the EAC makes us put a rating on it of 10 years. We think customers are going to use these for longer than that. You know, St. Louis County does something pretty unique today. They have certified technicians that work on the system. So some of our customers in the state and in other states, we maintain the equipment on an annual basis or biannual basis. And then some customers even go so far as to maintain their own equipment, saving their jurisdiction money, and becoming a higher level of expertise on the system.
And Rob?
Yes, sir.
The certified technicians that we have are our employees, Republicans and Democrats. The equipment never leaves our space unless it goes out on election day.
Well, that's an excellent point, Rick. Yeah, St. Louis County does a fantastic, and I'm sure Eric and Rick would let you tour the office at some point. They do a fantastic job with their tabulation room. The security, I mean, even out in their warehouse, the fences go all the way to the top. I believe they have cameras on all the equipment. That chain of custody for voting equipment, they take incredibly serious here. So you should have a lot of confidence with the system that you have in place, and then should they move to this new system, even greater confidence. Yes, ma'am.
There was an election where one was in March and one was in April, and since we had used the touchscreens in March, we weren't allowed to use the touchscreens in April because it was too close together. So we had to do all paper ballots. You running that problem with these?
Yeah, so her question is, there was an election, and I actually was here for that election. It was an election where we did not deploy the Ivotronics. We just deployed paper ballots with M100s and scanned everything on here. You know, Eric mentioned a little bit about our legacy software. It takes a certain skill set to operate that software, and we've come a long way with the software that's running this. It's a software called Electionware. The team yesterday got a full review of that. I think you'll find that it is incredibly easy, and if it's easier for the board to administer, it's going to be easy for them to deploy these on every election, should they decide that's necessary. Now, again, that's up to the board, Eric and Rick, and the board here, but it is incredibly easier than the system that they have in place. Yes, sir.
Which state did you say your equipment was being used in?
Say that again.
Which state did you say this equipment was being used in?
I think we're in, the Express Vote of the ES&S, are we in over 20 states? We've got statewide deployments like the state of Maryland. We just inked a contract with Dallas County, Texas. I mean, it's in Springfield, Missouri, it's in Kansas City, it's in Johnson County, Kansas, it's in Sedgwick, it's in a lot of jurisdictions throughout the country. Yes, sir.
How old is this technology?
So this is the latest Express Vote. So this is what we call the Express Vote version 2. I liken that to, you have the iPhone 8, now you have the iPhone 10. This is our answer to that. So this was just certified in the state of Missouri, this, along with the software that is running the DS200 a couple months ago. We regularly provide certifications and updates to the firmware that counties can choose to take. So what I imagine St. Louis County, if they went with this system, would update these probably on an annual basis or biannual basis, depending on the features that they want to take in the white
I
zone.
have a concern, in a given precinct, if there's 8 workers there now, how is this equipment gonna change the number of workers?
Yeah, that's a board question, so I'm not here to eliminate anybody's job. Very good question. That's going to be something that the board, the staff, Eric and Rick, they'll navigate those waters with this system. I don't have metrics on, does it eliminate the need for multiple poll workers? However, your jobs may shift a little bit within the polling location because it's a little bit different process. Not a lot different, but it is a little bit different.
Rob, let's do one more, and then we'll go to the
One more. We'll do gentleman in the orange hat.
Okay, I think this is the ultimate question. Where's this equipment made?
So we manufacture this equipment. We're in a global environment where material comes from the globe. But we're a company that's based out of Omaha, Nebraska. It's assembled in Omaha, Nebraska. We do all the finishing work right here in the Midwest. So we're an American company. We're not a company that has a tie to the Russians. I know everybody wants to try. We're made in America. Great question.
All right. So yes, thank you, Rob. I know that was good work. Thank you. So now what we'd like to do, everybody, we're going to have some employees from our office come up and man the check-in table up here. And what we'd like to do is give you all a chance to come check in on the poll pad. If you are a St. Louis County voter, your information should be in there. And then after you check in, come vote on the equipment, try it out. We're all going to stick around for a while. If you've got more questions, we'll be here to answer those questions. And again, we thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. And we appreciate your feedback. If you want to give us any feedback on those forms, we'll have folks up here taking those from you whenever you decide to leave. Thanks, everybody.
Oops, sorry. Daryl Brown, I need you to check in with Haley, please. Sorry, I'm gonna have him cut in line a little bit just so we can check in on Facebook Live.
I gotta find my license. I don't know if I have one.
I know you do that on election day. Would you want to do the paper or the touchscreen?
Touchscreen.
Yeah, that would be fair if we had to go with.
Print check connected.
Should be plugged in.
Is it on?
It's not on.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Daryl, stand. I need you to stand over here.
Yes, ma'am. She's trying to. We got a director here.
You mentioned that when they're closing out the machine, they close it down and then they take the stick out.
No, not on those. Is there a stick in these? Yeah, so there's
That's great.
Oops, sorry, sir, I'm filming.
Sorry about
Thank you, ma'am.
Do we get the paper?
Card. Where do we get the card?
Haley, you need to hand out your
I need one.
technology, we're getting there. Thank you. Close down and then they pull the stick out without closing it down. That's something that we're gonna be able to do back to the person. You're gonna take that stick and you're gonna try and read it in. It's gonna say, hey,
Put it in and bring it
talk.
back out. Yeah, so that'll always be eliminated.
Because this machine will have.
That is just a big, basically a big pencil.
No question.
Just marketing value. So that's just showing that the election's loaded. That's for the county.
Yeah.
They can visually see like, yep, the election's loaded. It shows a floppy disk. Sure. The big ones under here, the cards from the special right up here. Oh, I see. Yes, sir. Are you, I figured you were supervising. No, all in the same spot. She's taking pictures of both sides of the ballot. There's no reason to separate them because the county is going to rely on a USB stick that has images of all the ballots so they can pull up on their computer. Sure. End of the night.
Are we already reviewing?
Good question. So, when they get that ballot and they bring it over here to the machine's going to know what precinct it's from when it reads the ballot. So the machine will know. I'm assuming, and I'll ask the county, because the reason they write it on the ballot is for the county, for later on. Yeah, for storage reasons. That's a good question for the county. Yeah, you wouldn't need it now, no.
Then you're gonna confirm comparing this ballot file 5, ballot file 5.
Christian might be able to answer that one, yeah. Here's the administration questions.
You have that.
Have you really?
So do you want to make your text large?
Correct.
Listen, I love
People
you.
could obviously do this, but when you retabulate it, it's
That's the ballot.
Yes, sir.
So, is there any way to verify that the barcodes match?
Put it back in any machine. Yep, yes, sir. Any machine.
Okay, great.
Hey,
You've already got a line up.
So the same as for the blind?
yes, sir. I'll make sure I let everybody know that too. Thank you for voting.
All right.
And I would show them these folks this too, real quick. Hit this magnifying glass during the day, and it'll show you how many of each ballot are in the machine.
Oh, okay.
A good way for you to keep track of your numbers throughout the day and make sure everything's balanced.
Okay.
And the voter can see it too. That's public, so they absolutely could hit that.
No, at the count.
Yeah, they don't, presently, they don't want
Sure.
that count to be shown.
And the
but-
county has the option. That would be up to them to hide it. or
Oh,
not.
okay,
Yeah,
they
they
can
can hide
hide
that.
it.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
And a ballot can go in any orientation, backwards, forward. Watch, what with this one upside down, sir? How about you put it upside down up there? You'll feed it till the machine grabs it, and you'll notice the public count will change to 15 there. Nice job, you voted.